My friends, let me ask you something that will stir the very core of your being. What if you chose to live each and every day as though everything, yes, everything was already falling into place for your good? What if, despite the chaos, the setbacks, the silence, and the storms, you held on to unshakable faith that God is aligning every detail in your favor? The world is loud, filled with voices that declare limits, spread fear, and preach defeat. Yet in the middle of it all, there is a softer sound, a divine whisper, a sacred call from the throne of God saying, "Trust me, walk as though it is already finished, move as if it is already secure, speak as if it is already fulfilled. Live as though everything is working out for you, because when I am your God, it truly is." This is not fantasy. This is not blind optimism. This is holy confidence, rooted in the sovereignty of God and anchored in the truth that He is not the author of confusion, but the God of perfect order. He is not one who forgets, but the one who carefully orchestrates. You may not see the blueprint, but that does not mean the design does not exist. You may not feel progress, but that does not mean you are not advancing. Just because your eyes are filled with tears doesn't mean your life is filled with failure. The truth is, many of the things that look like setbacks are setups in disguise. But only those who walk by faith, not by sight, will recognize it. You see, faith isn't just something we feel in moments of worship. It's not something we touch only when we're desperate. Faith is a daily decision, a constant posture, a lifestyle of radical trust in a God who never abandons His people. So when I say act as if everything is working out for you, I am not telling you to fake it. I am telling you to faith it. I am telling you to rise up in the boldness of spiritual authority, to shake off the lies of the enemy, and to wear the robe of confidence that God has already tailored for you. Because God has gone before you, God has prepared the way, God has seen the end from the beginning. And when God is on your side, nothing, absolutely nothing, can stand against you. You were not created to live in fear. You were not born to dwell in doubt. God did not shape you in your mother's womb for you to crawl through life begging for scraps of joy, scraps of peace, scraps of purpose. You are not a victim of circumstances. You are a vessel of destiny. God has written your story with divine precision, and there's not a single chapter that is wasted. Even the pain, even the losses, even the delays, they all serve His higher purpose. That's why you can walk into every room as if the solution is already waiting. You can step into the unknown as if it's already familiar. You can carry yourself with the composure of someone who has seen the outcome, because your trust is not in the world, but in God. And hear me now, there is no arrogance in this kind of confidence. This is not pride. This is praise. This is not boasting in your strength. This is resting in God's strength. It is knowing that while others depend on their plans, their connections, their education, or their money, you are depending on God, and that is more than enough. That is why you can smile while the world frowns. That is why you can sing in the middle of storms. That is why you can rest when others are panicking, because you know something they don't. You know that God never loses control. You know that God never leaves things unfinished. You know that God never allows anything to happen unless it's working together for your good. Now let me speak to those of you who are in the middle of the struggle, those who have prayed and not yet seen results, those who have fasted and still feel stuck, those who have done everything right, yet life still seems to fall apart. I want to speak into your spirit right now. God is still working. You may not feel it. You may not see it. But God is doing more behind the scenes than you could ever imagine. Just because you are in a dark place doesn't mean God has left you. In fact, some of God's greatest work happens in the dark. Seeds grow in the dark. Diamonds form under pressure. Purpose is refined in pain. You may feel forgotten, but heaven knows your name. You may feel broken, but God sees your wholeness. So lift your head, straighten your back, and walk with faith, because what's coming is better than what has been. Let the world call it delusion. Let the critics call it denial, but you walk like it's already yours. You speak like the door is already open. You pray like the answer's already on the way. Because when you act like everything is working out for you, you are not being unrealistic. You are being prophetic. You are declaring with your posture what your spirit already knows. That God is faithful. That God is intentional. That God is not playing games with your life. You're not living in fantasy. You're living in divine expectation. There is power in expectation. There is an anointing that rests upon those who believe, even when nothing looks believable. That's why the enemy wants to break your spirit, because once your expectation dies, your fight dies with it. But I came to remind you today, do not let your expectation die. Do not let your hope dry up. Act as if everything is working for your favor, because when you live like that, you shift the atmosphere. You change the energy in the room. You move from survival to dominion. You stop reacting and start responding. You stop doubting and start declaring. And that is when God begins to move in ways that blow your mind. Some of you are standing in front of closed doors and you've been knocking, crying, waiting. But let me tell you, when God closes a door, it's not because He's punishing you. It's because He's protecting you. Every no from God is a redirection. Every delay is a divine preservation. You think you've been denied, but God is just setting the stage for something greater. You must learn to move with divine rhythm. Not ahead of God, not behind Him, but with Him. And the only way to do that is to trust fully, fearlessly, faithfully. Stop waiting for things to look good before you praise. Stop waiting for people to approve before you move. Stop waiting for clarity before you commit. Walk like it's already done. Act like it's already yours. Rejoice like the battle is already won. Because if God said He is with you, then what are you afraid of? Why are you second-guessing? Why are you entertaining fear? Fear is not your friend. It is your enemy. And faith and fear cannot occupy the same space. Choose faith. Choose belief. Choose confidence not in yourself, but in the one who created you for such a time as this. I know it's not always easy. I know some nights you cry into your pillow and wonder if any of this is real. I know sometimes you doubt if God even hears you. But don't you let the silence convince you of absence. Just because heaven is quiet doesn't mean God is absent. Sometimes God hides His hand so that your faith can rise. Sometimes He delays the blessing so your heart can mature. But rest assured, He never forgets His children. He never abandons His promises. He never leaves things halfway. He is a finisher. And what He started in you, He will complete. So act like you know it's already coming. Dress for the victory. Prepare for the breakthrough. Plan for the overflow. Speak as though the floodgates are already opening. Because when you live like that, when you breathe like that, when you move like that, you send a message to every demon in hell. I will not be shaken. I will not be moved. I will not give in because God is my refuge. God is my foundation. God is my defender, and He never loses battles. Some of you need to stop explaining your faith to people who don't understand your vision. You are not crazy. You are not too ambitious. You are not naive. You are simply aligned with God's purpose. And when you walk in purpose, don't expect everyone to applaud. Some will misunderstand you. Some will criticize you. Some will try to discourage you. But you must keep going. You must keep walking as if everything is working out for you, because it is. Even in the valley, keep walking like the mountaintop is your next stop. Even in the fire, keep speaking as if the flames can't touch you. Even in the lion's den, keep believing that no harm will come near you. Because when God is with you, natural laws do not apply. When God is with you, supernatural favor breaks the rules. And those who act in faith will see miracles that the doubters will never witness. This is not about pretending. This is about perceiving. It's about living from a higher perspective. It's about seeing with spiritual eyes what the physical world cannot yet confirm. God wants to take you higher. But to go higher, you must first believe higher. You must think higher. You must expect higher. And that begins by acting as if God's promises are already manifesting. You must command your soul to align with your spirit. You must tell your emotions to submit to your faith. When fear rises, you respond with faith. When doubt whispers, you shout back with declarations of truth. When anxiety creeps in, you counter it with divine peace. This is spiritual warfare, and it's won not by complaining, not by panicking, not by shrinking, but by standing, by speaking life, by acting as if the outcome is already victory, because it is. You don't have to wait until you see the finish line to celebrate. Start dancing now. Start preparing now. Start sowing now. Act like the blessing is already in motion, because it is. God is not limited by time. He is not bound by logic. What takes man years to build, God can establish in seconds. But He is waiting for your posture to change. He is waiting for you to step out of survival mode and into faith mode. He is waiting for you to carry yourself like a child of heaven, not a beggar of earth. My beloved, listen closely. There is a divine truth the world has forgotten. When you carry the presence of God within you, you are never a victim of the visible. You are guided by the invisible hand of the Almighty. And because of that, you must train your spirit to walk not by what you see, but by what God has spoken. The storm may rage, but if God has declared peace, then peace is your portion. The road may twist, but if God has ordained your direction, then every step is divine. So I urge you, act like your steps are ordered, because they are. Act like every closed door is part of God's plan, because it is. Act like the waiting season is not a punishment, but a preparation, because God is never careless with time. God is not impressed by worry. He is moved by faith. You cannot please God by crying louder, panicking harder, or fearing longer. But when you trust Him boldly, when you walk into the unknown as if it is already conquered territory, you stir the heavens. God responds to the one who says, even though I don't understand, I still believe. Even though I can't see the end, I trust the one who wrote the story. And that kind of faith, unyielding, unwavering, uncompromising, becomes a magnet for divine favor. You don't beg for blessings, you expect them. You don't chase peace, you carry it. You don't collapse in adversity. You rise because you know the one who holds the winds and commands the waves. There is a level of spiritual maturity where you stop reacting emotionally and start responding spiritually. You no longer need external validation to know you are on the right path. You no longer tremble when things go wrong. Why? Because your stability is no longer rooted in circumstances. It is rooted in God, the one who is eternal, unshakable, and sovereign over all things. You live with the inner knowing that if God allowed it, then He intends to use it. If He permits the valley, it's because the valley leads to elevation. If He removes certain people, it's because their presence would pollute your purpose. That's why you can walk forward with boldness, even when the terrain is unfamiliar. You can act as if the outcome is already settled, because when God is leading, it is. And hear this. When you carry this kind of faith, your energy shifts. You stop broadcasting your pain and start testifying about your peace. You stop telling everyone about your problems and start proclaiming that God is your solution. You no longer ask, "Why is this happening to me?" You begin to declare, "What is God building in me through this?" That's a transformation. That's not religious performance. That is spiritual alignment. You are stepping into your divine identity. You are becoming who God called you to be before the foundation of the world. People may think you're foolish. They may see you're calm in the storm and assume you're in denial. But what they don't see is the unshakable trust you've built with God in the secret place. They don't see the tears you've sown in silence. They don't see the nights you surrendered your will on your knees. They don't see the depth of your reliance on God when everything else was stripped away. But God saw it. And because of that, you now walk with a quiet confidence, a sacred assurance, a holy boldness. That's why you act like everything always works out for you, because you know who you belong to. You know that God is not in the business of letting His children drown in storms that were designed to teach them how to walk on water. And let me speak to the dreamers, the visionaries, the faithful who have dared to believe God for the impossible. Don't you dare shrink back now. Don't you dare allow fear to abort what God has placed in your spirit. You must act as if the outcome is already in your hands. You must speak as if the harvest is already breaking through the soil. Not because you are pretending, but because you are perceiving through the lens of the Spirit. And what you perceive by faith is more real than what you see with your eyes. Faith does not deny reality. It declares that God's reality is higher. Let your actions match your belief. Don't just pray for rain, bring an umbrella. Don't just ask for opportunities. Start preparing. Don't just hope for healing. Walk like you are whole. God is moved by preparation. When He sees you moving in faith, heaven opens. When you align your behavior with what you are believing for, doors begin to swing wide. Too many are waiting to feel ready. But faith is not a feeling. It is a decision, a choice to believe that God's hand is stronger than any circumstance and His promise more powerful than any delay. You don't have to convince others. You don't need their agreement. When God has whispered His will to your soul, that is enough. When He has placed a vision in your heart, guard it. When He has given you a word, protect it. Don't explain it to those who are spiritually asleep. Let your life be the evidence. Let your peace be the sermon. Let your unshakable confidence in God be your testimony. When they see you thriving in places where others collapsed, when they see you glowing in seasons that should have broken you, they'll ask how. And you'll answer, it was God all along. Act like your future is secure, because it is. Act like your life is guided, because it is. Act like the resources will come because they will. God is your source, not the job, not the bank, not the people around you. He can feed you in the desert. He can raise support from the most unlikely places. When He provides, no one can stop it. When He elevates, no one can block it. And when He protects, no one can harm what He covers. So why would you live in fear when your life is hidden in the care of the one who sees all, knows all, and controls all? Stop rehearsing your limitations. Stop confessing your past. Speak your future. Declare your destiny. Talk like someone who knows that God is the author and finisher of your story. Even if the chapter you're in feels dark, even if the lines are heavy with sorrow, the next page has already been written with hope. The ink of God never dries up. His promises are not delayed. They are being delivered. But you must be in position to receive. And that positioning begins with your mindset, your posture, your attitude, your expectation. Walk in it now. Let the fire refine you. Let the trial shape you. Let the rejection redirect you. Let the silence teach you. And in it all, act like everything is working for you. Because God is working through everything for you. You don't serve a careless God. You serve a God of detail. A God who sees the end while you are still at the beginning. A God who uses even your mistakes as part of the masterpiece. That is why you must not crumble under pressure. You must not doubt in the valley what God told you on the mountain. You must walk even if you limp. You must believe even if your voice shakes. Because when God is the architect, no storm can demolish what He is building. Every battle is training ground. Every obstacle is an invitation to rise. Every unanswered question is a doorway to deeper faith. So hold your head high, speak with authority, pray like you mean it, and live like everything is already shifting in your favor, because the truth is, when you align with God, it already is. You are not waiting for something to begin. You are walking into what God already finished. So act like it, because heaven is watching. The earth is responding. The atmosphere is shifting. And all creation is groaning. Not for fear-filled souls, but for sons and daughters of God who walk in power, who move with purpose, who speak with confidence, who live every day with the quiet, unstoppable force of someone who knows that everything is working out. Not by chance, not by coincidence, but by the divine orchestration of God alone. And now I say to you with urgency in my voice and fire in my spirit, stop hesitating when you were born to move. Stop questioning what God has already confirmed. Stop shrinking when God has already stretched your capacity. This is not the time to sit back and wait for approval. This is the time to walk forward with the confidence that comes from knowing you are backed by the full authority of heaven. God didn't bring you this far to leave you wondering. He brought you this far to show you how to walk as if the mountain is already moved, as if the provision is already sent, as if the victory is already written. Because it is. Too many people wait for signs before they move. But God is waiting for movement before He sends the sign. He is waiting for your obedience. He is waiting for your confidence to match your calling. He is waiting for you to act not based on fear, not based on feelings, but based on faith. Faith in His timing, faith in His wisdom, faith in His process. And when you begin to live from that place where your trust in God outweighs every visible obstacle, you shift spiritual dimensions. You enter a place where impossibilities begin to crumble, where burdens begin to break, and where doors begin to open, not by effort, but by divine command. Understand this: The moment you act as if everything is working out for you, you silence the voice of fear. You dethrone the lies that say you are forgotten. You disarm the enemy who thrives on your doubt. When you carry yourself like someone who knows God is orchestrating every detail, you become a vessel of power and people will notice. Not because you boast, but because the peace you carry will speak louder than any words you could say. Your silence will carry authority. Your very presence will radiate purpose. Who you are will stand as living proof that God is not only sovereign, He is intricately woven into every thread of your life. Don't be fooled by the delay. This season of waiting is not wasted. It is holy ground. It is the inner chamber where God shapes you for what He has already set aside for you. In the stillness, your roots dig deeper. Your discernment grows sharper, and your identity becomes immovable. This is not punishment. This is preparation. And when the appointed time arrives, you will not step in desperate, but ready, refined by fire, sharpened by silence, and upheld by the unseen hand of God. God never wastes your pain. He never dismisses your prayers. He never ignores your tears. Every moment of surrender, every choice to trust instead of panic, every decision to believe when it felt impossible, none of it has vanished. It is all kept safe in the vaults of eternity. And when the time is right, when your heart is ready, when your faith has matured, God will release what was held back. Not because He changed His mind, but because you finally stepped into the posture that could carry the weight of His blessing. So I challenge you, look in the mirror and see someone who is favored, not forgotten. Speak to your soul and command it to align with the promises of God. Walk through your day not as one who is uncertain, but as one who is led. Move with a rhythm of expectancy. Pray as if the answer is already echoing back. Give thanks not just for what you have, but for what is coming, because gratitude is the seedbed of miracles. And when you thank God in advance, you testify that you trust His heart, even when you don't yet see His hand. Let your life be a living sermon. Let your peace preach louder than panic. Let your faith interrupt the fear of others. When people see you walking through fire without being burned, when they see you standing still while everything around you shakes, when they see you calm in the eye of chaos, they will begin to ask the question that leads them to truth. What power is holding you together? And your answer, humble and unwavering, will point in one direction only, God, because it is God who holds your tomorrow. It is God who commands the seasons. It is God who lifts one and humbles another. It is God who makes rivers flow in deserts and causes light to shine in the darkest hour. That's why you can live as if the outcome is secure, because you know who is in charge. Not man, not systems, not statistics, but God, the one who cannot be overruled, the one whose will always prevail. So stop negotiating with your fear. Stop reasoning with your doubt. Stand in authority. Speak with clarity. Live with the conviction that what God has started in you is unstoppable. Act as if everything is working out for you, because that kind of faith creates movement in the heavens. That kind of faith breaks generational chains. That kind of faith transforms atmospheres. And that kind of faith invites the hand of God to move in ways that logic cannot explain. You are not here to merely survive life. You are here to steward it, to live it boldly, to walk through it as a divine assignment, not a random accident. Everything about your existence is purpose. Every detail of your journey has intention. And when you act like God is behind you, before you, beside you, He will reveal just how powerful He truly is. Your mindset is a weapon. Your expectation is a key. Your obedience is a door. And your faith is a force that causes the impossible to bow. So act as if it's already shifting because it is. Act as if God is already moving because He never stopped. Act as if the victory is already won because it was never in doubt. Do not let temporary confusion block eternal clarity. Do not allow one hard chapter to define your entire book. You were not made to live on the ground. You were made to soar, to rise, to dwell in the high places where fear cannot reach you and doubt cannot control you. And that elevation begins not with what you see, but with what you believe. The highest form of faith is to live today as if God has already worked out tomorrow. And the more you live that truth, the more you will see it unfold before your very eyes. Even now, in this very moment, something is aligning for you. Not because you earned it, not because you forced it, but because you believed God would not fail, because you trusted that no prayer goes unheard, no faith goes unnoticed, and no sacrifice is ever wasted in the hands of God. There is a power that enters your life the moment you shift your inner conversation from fear to faith. When you stop saying, "What if it doesn't work?" and begin declaring, "Even this is part of God's plan." Something changes not just around you, but within you. You begin to live not as someone searching for meaning, but as someone assigned by heaven. And that awareness, that divine awakening becomes your compass. When your foundation is built on trust in God, storms don't shatter you. They reveal your strength. Delays don't derail you. They deepen your dependence. The challenges don't crush you. They uncover the capacity God placed inside you long before the trial ever began. You must remember, God does not respond to panic. God responds to faith. When you carry yourself as though the victory is already written, when you speak as though the way is already made, when you believe that no detail of your life is random, you honor the greatness of God. And when you honor God in that way, He honors you in return. Not always with comfort, but with clarity. Not always with ease, but with evidence. Evidence that you are not alone. Evidence that your prayers are not empty. Evidence that His hand is guiding what your eyes cannot yet see. There is a discipline of the Spirit that says, even if everything around me feels chaotic, I will remain calm. Not because I'm strong, but because I trust the one who is stronger than all. This is not just a mindset. It is spiritual warfare. Because the greatest battle is not outside of you. It's within. The voice that says, "Give up," is loud. But the whisper that says, "God is still working," is stronger. And that whisper will lead you further than any shout of fear ever could. It is not the absence of trouble that proves God's favor. It is the presence of peace in the middle of it. It is the ability to say, I don't have to understand it to trust it. I don't have to control it to believe that it's being worked for my good. And when you live like that, when you act like every twist in the road is part of a greater map you haven't seen yet, you are not being you are being surrendered. Surrendered to the truth that God is too wise to make mistakes, is too faithful to lie, and too loving to leave you in a place that has no purpose. I speak now to the weary, the stretched, the tired soul, the one who's still standing but doesn't know how much longer they can hear this truth and let it burn in your heart. God has not brought you this far to abandon you in the wilderness. The same hand that opened the sea for others will part the storm for you. The same voice that said, "Be still," to the wind still speaks into your confusion today. The silence you feel is not God's absence, and it is His strategy. For when He is quiet, It is because He is working. And when He is working, you can rest. So live with peace that confuses the enemy. Walk through fire and don't even smell like smoke. Smile when it makes no sense. Praise before the breakthrough because you know that nothing can touch your destiny unless God allows it. And if He allows it, He will use it. That is why you act like everything always works out. Not because life is perfect, but because God is sovereign over imperfection. There is no mistake too big for God to reroute, no failure too far gone for Him to redeem. God is not looking for perfect people. He is looking for faithful ones. People who will still stand when it would be easier to quit. People who will still believe when it would be easier to complain. People who will still walk with their head held high even when the evidence doesn't match the promise. Yet you must become fluent in the language of faith. Speak as if the answer is in motion. Respond as if the doors are already opening. Worship as if the floodgates are already pouring. Not to manipulate the outcome, but to magnify the God who controls it. Your words have power. Your declarations shape your reality. When you speak defeat, you strengthen discouragement. But when you speak life, when you speak hope, when you speak trust, you awaken divine possibility. Let this be the day you stop carrying the weight of what you cannot change and start walking in the lightness of what God already has under control. You were not built to carry burdens that belong to God. You were built to believe, to surrender, to rise. Worry is a thief. It steals your energy, your clarity, your peace. But faith is a builder. It strengthens your vision, sharpens your spirit, and opens your life to supernatural order. So drop the weight. Let go of the illusion that your future is in your hands. It never was. It belongs to God. And when you act like it, you walk lighter, you love deeper, and you live freer. Some of you are waiting for the right time to believe, but the right time is now. The miracle doesn't come before the faith, it follows it. God doesn't reward hesitation, He rewards holy boldness. Not recklessness, but reverent trust. The moment you move in that trust, the spiritual realm begins to respond. You are not waiting for breakthrough. The breakthrough is waiting for your obedience. Act like it's already in motion. Move like the answer's already on its way because it is. Every great move of God begins with someone who dared to walk differently. Someone who looked at a closed door and said, "That's not the end, that's a redirection." Someone who saw an empty space and said, "God will fill this with purpose." Someone who chose to see not what was in front of them, but what God had already ordained behind the veil of time. That someone can be you, that someone must be you. Let your character be shaped not by comfort, but by conviction. Let your joy come not from having it all, but from knowing that God is in all. And when doubt knocks, don't entertain it. Reminded of what God has already done, call to mind every answered prayer, every narrow escape, every whisper in the night that reminded you you are not alone. If God carried you, then He will carry you now. If He provided once, He will provide again. And if He gave you the strength to survive what was meant to destroy you, He is surely preparing you to walk into what will elevate you. And let me say this with the weight of divine urgency. When you begin to live with the mindset that everything is working out for you because God is the one guiding it all, you are not living in delusion. You are walking in alignment with truth that transcends logic. You are stepping into the spiritual reality where your soul no longer bows to fear and your spirit refuses to negotiate with doubt. You become immovable, not because life becomes easy, but because your trust in God becomes unshakable. This is the kind of faith that silences storms before they even arrive. It is the kind of trust that transforms waiting rooms into worship rooms and valleys into places of revelation. You see, the strength of your life is not determined by how much you control, but by how deeply you surrender. To act as if everything always works out for you is not arrogance. It is alignment with the nature of God, the one who brings order from chaos, light from darkness, and wisdom out of confusion. When your heart is yielded to God, even your failures begin to serve you. Even your wounds begin to teach you. Even the betrayals that were meant to break you end up building you. Because when God is in control, nothing is wasted and nothing is random. Every twist in your journey, every unfamiliar turn, every delay you did not understand, each one is woven with purpose only God can fully comprehend. You must stop seeing your struggle as a sign of failure and begin to see it as a sign of formation. God is shaping you in the fire so that you can carry what you've been praying for. You don't prepare for greatness in comfort. You prepare in the dark, in the quiet, in the trials that force you to reach for God with everything you have. And once your faith is forged in that fire, you walk differently. You pray with greater authority. You move with certainty, not because you know all the answers, but because you know the one who holds every outcome. There is a boldness that comes from trusting God, a boldness that allows you to show up to life with no fear of tomorrow, a boldness that makes you wake up and speak over your day before the sun even rises. Today will serve me. Today is a day God has already entered before I even open my eyes. No matter what it brings, it is bringing me closer to the purpose that was written before time began. This is how you live when you know that every detail of your life is under divine supervision. Not one tear goes unseen, not one step goes unmeasured, and not one battle is allowed unless it leads to a greater victory. People may see your calm and misunderstand it. They may think you're out of touch, that you're avoiding reality. But what they don't realize is that you are more in touch with eternal reality than they have ever been. You are not ignoring problems. You are trusting the one who solves them. You are not pretending pain doesn't exist. You are leaning on the source who brings peace that passes understanding. You are not escaping life. You are embracing it with a higher perspective, knowing that everything in this world is temporary, but what is rooted in God is eternal. This world is loud. It demands that you panic. It shouts that you should worry. It glorifies stress and fear as if they are signs of responsibility. But faith whispers a different truth. It says, be still, trust God, walk forward. Faith doesn't need to prove itself with noise. It carries authority in its stillness. And when you act like God is already working everything out for you, you are not being irresponsible. You are being radically obedient because God never asked you to carry it all. He asked you to trust Him with it all. It takes courage to trust in the silence. It takes maturity to believe when the evidence says otherwise. But that's exactly where you grow. That's where your character is tested and your endurance is expanded. God is not only interested in delivering you from the fire, He is developing you in it. And when you come out, you won't just come out whole. You'll come out with wisdom, with depth, with a testimony that shakes the ground beneath the feet of doubt. Begin to walk into rooms with spiritual certainty. You don't need to be the loudest voice. You just need to carry the presence of someone who knows God is already ahead of you. You don't need to chase people or push doors open. What is yours by divine design will not pass you by. If God has spoken it into your life, It cannot be undone by man, by time, or by circumstance. All that is required is that you live like you believe it. And do not confuse God's pace with His absence. God is not slow. He is precise. He doesn't rush the process because what He is building is meant to last. You're not being punished. You're being positioned. You're not being denied. You're being disciplined, refined, and prepared. God is not interested in temporary highs. He is preparing you for sustainable greatness. That's why you must not faint. That's why you must act as if everything is falling into place. Because even when it feels like it's falling apart in God's plan, it is always falling into place. Your life will change when you stop living from circumstance and start living from conviction. Conviction that God is always working even when you can't see it. Conviction that God's promises are not suggestions. They are guarantees backed by the full authority of heaven. Conviction that your role is not to figure everything out, but to walk in trust. Speak with confidence and move as if the outcome is already in your favor. Let that become your rhythm. Wake up speaking life. Go to sleep in peace. Let your days be framed with expectation, not anxiety. Let your heart beat with hope, not hesitation. Let your vision be rooted in purpose, not in fear. And above all, let your soul anchor itself in this eternal truth. God is not through with you. He is not finished writing your story, and the ending He has in mind is far greater than anything you could plan or imagine. So now, beloved, let this truth settle deep into your soul. When you act as if everything is working out for you, you are not pretending, you are prophesying. You are walking in agreement with the eternal wisdom of God. You are declaring through your faith that no weapon formed against you shall prosper. It's not about your own strength, but about the greatness of your God. You're not simply wishing for peace. You carry the peace that comes from knowing your life rests in the hands of the one who already knows the end from the very beginning. Each step you take with confidence is a declaration of worship. Every moment you choose faith instead of fear, you are giving honor to the author of your story. So rise not with arrogance, but with holy certainty. Speak with boldness, not out of pride, but from unshakable trust. Live each day not waiting for everything to align, but walking as though it already has under divine order. You are led, you are shielded, you are chosen, and above all, you are never abandoned. Keep living as though God is for you, because He truly is. Keep moving forward as though doors are opening, because they already are. Keep believing your breakthrough is near, because it's closer than you think. And when the dust clears, when the storm finally calms, your life will stand as a testimony, not to your own power, but to the strong and unfailing hand of God. Let that be your steady confidence, your quiet peace, and your everlasting crown. Dear friend, have you ever found yourself in a moment so shattered, so weighed down by life's burdens, that your soul screamed in silence while your lips couldn't form a single word? Have you ever lain awake in the dead of night, eyes fixed on the darkness, not only around you but within you? Have you felt your strength drained dry, your hopes scattered like dust on the wind, your very sense of self swallowed by the storm? If that's where you are now or where you've been before, then lean in with every breath you have, because what you're about to hear is not a speech, not a pep talk, but a summons to break through, a divine invitation to restoration through the power of prayer. Not just any prayer, but the kind that rattles the gates of heaven and ignites fire deep in the soul. The breakthrough prayer for complete restoration. God does not leave His people in ruin. He does not abandon what He created in love. You may feel forsaken. You may feel forgotten. But the truth, the eternal, unchanging truth, is that God restores. He brings dead things back to life. He rebuilds what was torn down. He revives what was crushed, and He does it in ways that defy logic, stretch understanding, and shatter limitations. But listen to me now, restoration is not automatic. Restoration is born through prayer. Not empty words, not ritual repetitions, but soul-burning, mountain-moving, heaven-touching prayer. It is in that sacred space where your tears become your language, your pain becomes your offering, and your faith becomes your weapon. There is a type of prayer that causes God to move. There is a cry that echoes so deep it stirs the heavens. And when that kind of prayer is born from the womb of desperation and trust, God responds. Not because He is far away needing to be convinced, but because prayer aligns your spirit with His power. Restoration begins not with your plans, not with your strength, but on your knees. You want a breakthrough? Then you must learn how to pray like your life depends on it, because it does. Let me tell you the truth, my friend. Many cry out for blessings, but few cry out for God. Many chase the gift, but ignore the giver. Restoration is not just getting your stuff back, it's getting your spirit back. It's when God picks up the shattered pieces of your soul and makes something stronger than what existed before. But you must go to Him not with entitlement, but with surrender. Not with demands, but with devotion. The breakthrough prayer is not a shopping list. It is a spiritual war cry. It is when your heart says, God, I am not letting go until you move. I am not giving up until you answer. God listens to the brokenhearted. He sees the crushed in spirit. He knows the weight you carry, the disappointments you've buried, the nights you've cried yourself to sleep, and He is not indifferent. He is not silent. He is not slow. He is strategic. He is precise. And He is faithful. But He moves in response to faith-filled prayer, the kind of prayer that tears through the noise of this world, the kind of prayer that shuts out fear, silences doubt, and declares, God, I know you still have a plan for me. You must stop praying weak prayers if you want strong restoration. This is not the time for passive petitions. This is the moment for bold declarations, for prayers that come from the depths of your spirit. You've got to learn how to pray when everything inside you wants to quit. Pray when your heart is numb. Pray when the answers are delayed. Pray when your enemies mock you. Pray when your family walks away. Pray when your own mind betrays you. Because every time you pray, you are building an altar before God. Every cry, every tear, every groan in the secret place, it is not wasted. God does not forget those who seek Him with all their heart. Your breakthrough is not in a person. It's not in a job. It's not in the applause of this world. It's in the presence of God. There is healing in that presence. There is clarity. There is strength. There is a rebirth of identity. And you access it not by wishing, but by wearing. Breakthrough prayer is warfare. It is the sound of the Spirit resisting everything that tries to hold you back. It is the roar of faith rising from the ashes of defeat. It is your soul refusing to die in the desert. Don't let your current condition blind you to your divine position. You may be in the fire, but you are not consumed. You may be in the valley, but you are not buried. God allows some seasons to strip you, not to destroy you, but to rebuild you with greater glory. But you must pray your way through. You must intercede until the walls fall. You must fast if you have to, cry if you must, but don't stop praying. Don't stop knocking. Don't stop believing, because the day is coming. Yes, the hour is near when God will say enough. And when He speaks restoration into your situation, no devil in hell can stop it. You see, the breakthrough prayer is not just about what you say, it's about what you believe while you say it. It's about praying as if the answer's already moving in your direction. It's about lifting your voice with such faith that even your enemies begin to tremble. God responds to faith, not perfection, not performance. Faith, even if it's trembling faith, even if it's just enough to whisper, "God, help me." That's enough to part seas. That's enough to shake chains off your life. That's enough to raise what was dead. Some of you are praying from broken marriages. Some of you are praying from hospital beds. Some of you are praying from prison cells, literal or emotional. But I declare to you, God restores, God revives, God resurrects, God brings back what you thought was gone forever. But you must call on Him with all that you are. You must pray like someone drowning, reaching for the lifeline. You must lay it all at His feet. Your fears, your shame, your secrets, your dreams, and say, "God, only you can rebuild me. Only you can restore what I've lost." Total restoration is not partial healing. It's not just fixing what was broken. It's making it better than it was before. God doesn't just give you back what was stolen, He multiplies it. He doesn't just restore your years, He redeems them. He turns your pain into power, your sorrow into strength, your wilderness into a wellspring. But it begins when you shift from casual prayer to desperate, relentless prayer, from speaking to crying out, from asking to declaring. Because when your voice rises in raw truth before God, His power falls in divine response. Your breakthrough prayer will often be forged in the fire. It will not be easy. It may be birthed in sleepless nights and lonely hours. But keep going, keep praying, keep pressing, because when you pray like that, the atmosphere begins to shift. Things start moving in the unseen realm. God dispatches His power where there was once only despair. The moment you pray with faith, restoration is set in motion. You may not see it immediately, but trust God is working. God is restoring. And in due season, your weeping will turn to dancing. Don't you ever let the devil convince you that it's over. Don't you let disappointment drown out your voice. You may have been delayed, but you have not been denied. And that delay has been divine because God is setting you up for a restoration so complete, so undeniable that people will marvel, not at you, but at what God has done in you. But you must remain at the altar. You must keep the fire burning. You must not retreat. You must not be silenced. The enemy fears a praying soul because prayer unlocks power and power brings restoration. There will be a time, a moment when everything changes, when the prayer you prayed in secret becomes the testimony you shout in public, when the God you sought in the storm becomes the glory you carry in the sunlight. But it doesn't start with people. It doesn't start with opportunity. It starts with prayer. If you want to see total restoration, spirit, mind, heart, body, then commit yourself to a life of breakthrough prayer. Not just once, but daily. Not just in crisis, but in communion. And as you do, you will see the hand of God move in ways you never imagined. You are not too far gone. You are not too broken. You are not beyond repair. The same power that created the heavens hears your whisper. The same God who holds the galaxies bends down to listen when you pray. So stop doubting. Stop running. Stop delaying. Get on your knees. Lift your voice. Open your heart. Cry out for restoration and believe. Truly believe that God hears, that God answers, that God restores. You may have lost time, but God can restore it. You may have lost relationships, but God can heal them. You may have lost direction, but God can guide you. You may have lost yourself, but God can bring you back to life. But you must ask, you must seek, you must knock, and you must not give up. This is the hour for breakthrough prayer. This is the season of total restoration, not by your might, not by your knowledge, but by the Spirit of God moving in response to your prayer. So don't wait, don't hesitate, don't let the past define your future. Begin now. Pray like the heavens are listening, because they are. Pray like your breakthrough depends on it, because it does. And as you do, watch what God will restore. There is a place in the heart of prayer where words end and the Spirit begins to speak. A place where your soul bows even lower than your knees. That is where restoration begins. Not in the noise of public declarations, but in the stillness of surrender before God. When you reach that sacred silence where your desires dissolve and only the will of God matters, you will find breakthrough waiting for you. Restoration is not about returning to who you were, but becoming who God intended you to be all along. And the path to that becoming is paved with trust, obedience, and raw, unfiltered prayer. God sees beyond the broken pieces you hold in your hands. While you're focused on what you lost, God is focused on what He's about to build. He does not rebuild using the rubble of your past. He creates anew. He uses loss to position you, pain to prepare you, and prayer to propel you. That is why your breakthrough prayer must not be limited by your understanding. It must rise above your emotions, above your reasoning, and reach into the unseen realm where faith is your only anchor. You must learn to pray past your feelings and into your future. The kind of prayer that touches God's throne is not the prayer of comfort. It is the prayer of consistency. It is the prayer you pray when you don't feel like praying. It's when you show up anyway, when your voice is trembling, but you still speak. When your heart is aching, but you still believe. That is where divine restoration begins. Not when everything is calm, but when the storm is raging and you cry out, "God, I trust you even here." That trust is the seed from which your breakthrough will grow. And hear me when I tell you this restoration is never without resistance. The moment you begin to rise in prayer, distractions will increase. Opposition will multiply, and the enemy will whisper that your efforts are wasted. But don't be deceived. The battle intensifies not because you're failing, but because you're close to breaking through. When your prayer begins to shake foundations, the forces that want to keep you bound will tremble. Do not retreat. Do not silence your voice. Keep pressing in, because the very resistance is proof that restoration is near. God responds to those who persist, not those who perform, but those who pursue. The breakthrough prayer for total restoration is not a one-time act. It is a lifestyle of communion with God. It's walking with Him in the garden of your trials. It's talking with Him in the heat of your tests. It's leaning on Him when the road is unclear. You must understand, God is not just interested in restoring what's around you. He is committed to restoring what's within you, your peace, your clarity, your courage, your purpose. Sometimes God will strip away everything just to rebuild your foundation, because He knows that without a solid inner life, no outer restoration can stand. That is why your prayers must go deeper than outcomes. Ask for transformation, not just solutions. Ask for wisdom, not just rescue. Ask for alignment, not just advancement. Because once your soul is right before God, everything else will follow. The breakthrough you seek on the outside must first be activated on the inside. And only God can do that in you through prayer. There is a sacred shift that happens when you stop praying for survival and start praying for destiny. When you stop saying, "God, get me out," and start saying, "God, get me through, make me stronger, wiser, unshakable." That is the prayer that heaven answers. That is the prayer that brings restoration that cannot be taken away again. Because God doesn't just restore your circumstances, He restores your authority, your discernment, your resilience, your joy. Do not envy the progress of others. Do not compare your restoration to someone else's blessing. What God is doing in you is tailor-made. He knows what had to be broken for you to finally turn to Him. He knows what had to be lost so you would stop clinging to false security. Trust that even in your lowest place, God was planning a comeback that would silence every doubt, every voice of shame, every enemy that tried to bury you. And when He brings you out, you'll know it was Him alone who did it. Do not rush the process. Restoration requires patience. It may take time, but every moment spent in faithful prayer is building a foundation that cannot be moved. Others may not see it. They may wonder why you're still praying, still waiting, still believing. But let them talk. Because when God restores you, even your enemies will witness it. And the restoration will speak louder than your defense ever could. Your breakthrough is coming. But don't just wait for it. Pray it into existence. Wake up with prayer. Walk in prayer. Go to sleep in prayer. Not religiously, but relationally. Talk to God about everything. Bring Him your grief, your questions, your failures, your dreams. Hold nothing back, because God is not afraid of your honesty. He desires your heart more than your performance. And when your heart is laid bare before Him, His hand will begin to move with unstoppable power. There will be a moment, and you'll know it when the weight lifts, when the silence breaks, when what you prayed for begins to manifest. But even then, don't stop praying, because the same prayer that brought you to the breakthrough will sustain you through the blessing. Restoration is not a one-time event. It is a continual journey, and every step of it must be covered in prayer, guided by trust, and anchored in God. Some of you are praying for your children to return. Some of you are praying for your health to be restored. Some of you are praying for the burden of regret to be lifted. Let me tell you, God hears. He has not turned His face away. He is near to the brokenhearted. He bottles your tears. He records your cries, and He answers in ways that exceed your understanding. But you must keep knocking. You must keep seeking. You must keep holding on even when it feels like nothing is happening. Because something is happening. In the silence, God is setting things in motion. In the waiting, He is purifying your motives. In the delay, He is strengthening your faith. Don't misinterpret the quiet. Restoration grows in silence before it shouts in the open. And when the time is right, when your spirit is ready, when the vessel is prepared, God will release it. The breakthrough, the healing, the turnaround, and it will be total, not partial, not halfway, but complete, divine, undeniable restoration. Do not underestimate the power of one prayer prayed with faith. God doesn't require a multitude of words. He looks at the posture of the heart. He responds to sincerity. Cry out to Him, not just with your lips, but with your life. Let your every move be an act of worship. Let your pain become your prayer. Let your waiting become your offering. Because when God sees a life fully surrendered, He unleashes favor that cannot be contained. And remember this, God's restoration often comes in a way you didn't expect. It might not look like what you prayed for, but it will be what you needed. Trust that His ways are higher. His thoughts are deeper. His timing is perfect. You don't have to understand the path. You just have to trust the one who leads. And if you hold on to that trust, if you keep walking by faith and not by sight, you will look back one day and see that every tear, every delay, every unanswered question was preparing you for something greater than you imagined. You are not forgotten. You are not abandoned. You are not overlooked. God is writing a restoration story with your life that will touch others, heal wounds, break generational cycles, and bring glory to His name. But it begins with you alone in prayer, laying everything at His feet. Not once, not twice, but every day, faithfully, relentlessly, passionately. When the soul has been shattered, when life has left its scars deep within you, and when the world moves on as if nothing has happened, there is one place you must turn into the presence of God, not the fleeting comforts of men, not the shallow approval of crowds, not the temporary escape of distraction, but to the one who formed you in silence, who sees what no one else sees, and who restores not just what is broken, but what was lost before you even knew it. God is not bound by time. He is not limited by circumstance. What has taken years to fall apart, God can rebuild in a single moment, but you must cry out to Him with your entire being. Restoration begins the moment your spirit refuses to settle for what is and begins to yearn for what God wills. There is no restoration without divine alignment. You cannot be restored while clinging to the very things that broke you. You cannot be restored while walking in rebellion, while harboring bitterness, while living in fear. The breakthrough prayer is a refining prayer. It strips you of excuses, cleanses you of pride, and places you in complete submission to the will of God. It is not a negotiation, it is a surrender. And in that surrender, power flows. Many want restoration without refinement. They want the blessing but reject the process. But God in His mercy will not place holy things into unprepared hands. He will wait, He will stretch, He will test, not because He wants to harm you, but because He is preparing you for what is greater. Do not despise the process. The deeper the restoration, the deeper the pruning. God is not patching you up. He is remaking you. He is restoring your soul from the inside out. And that kind of restoration requires a heart that says, God, not my way, not my timing, yours alone. There are some things that can only be birthed in the fire. There are some prayers that can only be prayed from the pit. And there are some victories that can only be won through the cry of a desperate heart that says, I have no one else but God. That is where power is found. That is where mountains move. That is where chains break. Not because of your strength, but because your dependence on God has become absolute. God responds when all your options are exhausted and your hope is placed entirely in Him. Let this be clear. Restoration is not about going back to who you were before the pain. It's about rising into who God has always intended you to be. Pain strips away illusion. Loss exposes the soul. And when you bring that naked honesty before God, He covers you not in shame but in strength. He clothes you not in regret but in wisdom. God does not use your past against you. He uses it as the foundation for something new, something pure, something stronger than before. But it begins in the secret place where only your voice and His presence remain. Do not be deceived by outward appearances. Just because someone seems whole on the outside does not mean they are restored within. Restoration is a divine work. It cannot be imitated. It cannot be rushed. It is born through consistent prayer and faithful obedience. It is sustained by walking daily in the light of God, trusting Him not only for the miracle, but for the mundane moments in between. True restoration is peace that cannot be shaken even when storms return. It is clarity that remains even when chaos surrounds. It is a stillness inside you that testifies God has done this work. There are prayers that God answers in whispers, and there are prayers that He answers with fire. The breakthrough prayer demands fire, not destruction, but purification. It demands that everything in you be laid bare, that your agenda dies and His will takes center stage. This prayer doesn't just touch your situation, it transforms your character. God is not interested in quick fixes. He is interested in eternal change. You may be praying for a door to open, but God is working on the person who will walk through it. And when the restoration begins, you will not recognize yourself. Because when God restores, He doesn't give you back what you had. He gives you what you need. He refines your desires. He sharpens your focus. He removes relationships that were killing your spirit. He closes doors that were never meant for you. And yes, sometimes the greatest act of restoration is not giving you what you lost, but freeing you from needing it at all. Sometimes the most powerful healing is not in what comes back, but in what you no longer crave. You must stop measuring your healing by what others can see. God's restoration is often quiet, internal, sacred. It begins in the hidden places. You might still be walking through the valley, but inside your roots are growing deep. You might still be weeping at night, but God is reordering your soul for joy that will last. And while people are waiting to see visible change, God is crafting invisible strength. Let them talk. Let them doubt. You stay in the place of prayer because the reward is not their approval, it's God's favor. Restoration means walking again in purpose. It means your voice returns, your vision returns, your fire returns. Not to impress others, but to fulfill what you were born for. And you will know it is God's work when the peace you carry outweighs the possessions you have. You'll know it is God's restoration when your joy is rooted in obedience, not outcomes. When your strength is found in silence, not applause. This is the restoration that endures. This is the fruit of breakthrough prayer. God is not a God of fragments. He does not leave you halfway. If you will surrender everything to Him in prayer, your wounds, your memories, your reputation, your expectations, He will not only rebuild you, He will establish you. He will plant you in a place where your roots will not be shaken again, but you must stay committed to the secret place. You must stop looking for quick comfort and start seeking lasting transformation. Prayer is not your last resort. It is your lifeline. Hold it tightly. Make it the first breath of your morning and the final whisper of your night. Keep in mind, restoration was never meant to stop with you. It's for every soul your life will touch. For those who will watch your journey and discover hope again. For the generations yet to come who will rise stronger because you refuse to give up in prayer. This battle is bigger than your personal healing. You are interceding for every life tied to your own. God is raising up rebuilders. Men and women once shattered, now restored, carrying the mantle to lead others through the fire. And it all starts in the secret place of prayer. It all begins with one desperate cry, "Lord, I need you." So don't wait for perfect conditions. Don't wait until the hurt fades. Start now. Pray as though your tomorrow hangs on it, because it truly does. God is prepared to restore what the years have stripped away. He is ready to breathe life into what despair tried to bury. He is ready to raise up what you thought was gone forever. But He's waiting on your voice. He's waiting on your surrender. And when you give it, when you offer it without conditions or hesitation, God will answer with power that no one can deny. Breakthrough is not an event. It is a lifestyle, a continual posture of dependence on God, a relentless return to His presence, a daily choice to believe that His power is greater than your pain and His promise stronger than your past. Restoration begins in that choice. And once you choose it, hold fast. Because the breakthrough is not a myth. It is a reality that belongs to those who refuse to stop praying, refuse to stop believing, and refuse to let go of the God who restores all things. When God begins to restore, He does not simply repair the surface. He reconstructs from the root. That is why your restoration may feel slow, even painful at times, because God is digging deep. He is unearthing what has been buried, exposing what has been ignored, and confronting what has been suppressed. He does not heal symptoms. He heals the source. And while the world may offer temporary fixes to ease the discomfort, only God has the power to touch the hidden places of your spirit and speak life where there was once only survival. Restoration is not for the passive. It is for those who refuse to settle. It is for those who say, I will not die in this wilderness. I will not remain in this brokenness. I will not let this be the end of my story. That kind of boldness is not arrogance. It is trust in God. It is the belief that what God has spoken over your life is greater than what life has tried to take from you. And when that fire ignites in your soul, your prayer life changes. You stop praying for escape and start praying for endurance. You stop asking why and start declaring, let God's will be done in me fully, completely, and without delay. There's a kind of restoration that humbles you, not because you have lost, but because you've witnessed the mercy of God in your lowest state. It breaks your pride. It softens your heart. It reminds you that you did not earn the turnaround. God gave it to you. And that awareness transforms the way you walk. You no longer strive for validation from others. You no longer cling to the applause of the world. You walk with quiet strength because you know the one who restored you is greater than anything this world can offer. But listen closely. If you truly want restoration, you must release control. God will not restore what you continue to manipulate. He will not fill hands that refuse to let go. Some of you are still holding on to what hurt you, still replaying what broke you, still chasing the approval that was never meant to define you. But God says, lay it down. Trust me with it. Because until you release it, you cannot receive what's next. Restoration requires relinquishment. You must trade the ashes for beauty. But you cannot do that while clinging to the fire that burned you. Breakthrough prayer is dangerous prayer. It disrupts the ordinary. It dismantles comfort. It shakes you from passivity. Because the moment you pray for full restoration, you are inviting God to remove every false foundation in your life, every relationship that cannot go with you, every thought pattern that has kept you in bondage, every habit that has delayed your destiny. And though it may feel like loss, it is gain. Though it may feel like chaos, it is divine order. God clears out the lesser to make room for the greater. He tears down what was temporary so he can establish what is eternal. There are times God will allow you to be emptied before he fills you. Don't mistake the emptiness for abandonment. Sometimes the silence is a sign that God is preparing something sacred. He is drawing you away from noise so that you can hear the whisper of his guidance. And in that place of solitude, your spirit becomes sensitive again. You begin to hear his direction more clearly. Your appetite for distraction fades, and your longing for truth intensifies. That is where restoration takes root, not in the noise, but in the nearness of God. And when you are truly restored, the evidence is not just in what you gain, but in who you become. You begin to carry peace that cannot be provoked. You begin to speak with authority that doesn't come from titles or recognition, but from time spent in the presence of God. You walk with a confidence that comes from knowing who holds your future, even when your path is unclear. This is the fruit of breakthrough prayer. Not just answers, but transformation. Not just recovery, but rebirth. Do not fear the waiting. Do not resist the wilderness, because some of the deepest restorations happen in seasons where nothing seems to move. In those quiet days when you feel forgotten, misunderstood, and isolated, God is working. He is building strength in your spirit. He is developing endurance in your soul. He is enlarging your capacity for greater. What looks like delay is often divine construction. So lift your head, dry your tears, and continue to pray, because the silence does not mean denial, it means preparation. Let God rewrite your story. Let him redefine your worth. Let him reset your focus. Because when God restores, he removes what the enemy tried to attach to your name. Shame, fear, rejection, despair, he breaks them off. He doesn't just patch the wound, he replaces the scar with wisdom. You don't just walk out healed, you walk out empowered. That is why the enemy fought you so hard, because your restoration will be a testimony that ripples beyond your life. It will restore others. It will set captives free, and it will glorify God in ways your pain never could. Every setback is an opportunity for a setup. Every valley is an invitation to deeper vision. Every loss is a seed that God can use to grow something supernatural. But you must bring it to him in prayer. Unfiltered, unmasked, unafraid. Cry out to him. Speak to him when the words don't come out perfect. He's not looking for performance. He's waiting for honesty. That kind of prayer moves mountains. It splits the heavens. It shifts the atmosphere. It invites divine intervention. And know this, no place is too dark for God to reach. No heart is too hardened. No past is too stained. No future is too far gone. One moment in the presence of God can do more than years of human effort. One whispered prayer can bring breakthrough. One surrender can change generations, but it must be real. It must come from the depths of your soul. Restoration from God is not limited to repairing what the eye can see. It reaches far beyond material loss, far beyond public shame, far beyond emotional pain. It penetrates the very core of who you are. Your spirit, your essence, your soul's alignment with its divine creator. The breakthrough prayer for total restoration does not merely ask God to restore situations. It pleads for the restoration of the soul's sacred rhythm with his will. When your soul returns to its original posture before God, humbled, surrendered, and fully yielded, that is when true restoration begins to blossom like dawn after a long and bitter night. There are dimensions of restoration that only obedience can unlock. You may cry, you may fast, you may plead, and all of these are powerful, but without obedience, your prayer is hindered. You must not only call upon God, but you must follow His lead. If God calls you to release bitterness, obey. If God calls you to let go of unclean habits, obey. If God convicts your heart to walk away from what is comfortable but corrupt, obey. Because obedience is not weakness. It is the doorway to power. And the deeper your obedience, the more complete your restoration will be. Some of the most powerful restorations are the ones that happen in hidden places where no one sees, no one claps, and no one even knows the depth of what God has done. These are the restorations that bring tears of awe when you look back and realize that what should have destroyed you only deepened your intimacy with God. This is the kind of breakthrough that the world cannot imitate and that no enemy can take credit for. When God restores you in such a way that your peace doesn't rely on circumstance, your strength doesn't rely on support, and your identity doesn't rely on approval, that is restoration in its most divine form. Many want to be restored publicly, but are unwilling to be refined privately. They want applause without purification. They want elevation without examination. But God is too wise to elevate what is not stable. That is why He uses the prayer closet to build what the platform cannot. If you're in a season of silence, a time where no one sees your labor, your tears, your discipline, rejoice. Because it means God is building something lasting. God does not invest in what He does not intend to sustain. And if He's stretching you in private, He is preparing to entrust you with something powerful in public. Your breakthrough prayer must not only be consistent, it must be precise. Too often we pray in vague tones, hoping for general improvement. But restoration requires specific surrender. You must name the broken place. You must identify the lie you've believed. You must lay before God the exact area where you've been bleeding internally. And when you do, you will see God not only bind your wounds, but give you new vision, new strength, new purpose that rises from the very places where you once collapsed. You must also understand that God does not always restore in the way you imagine, and sometimes He removes instead of returns. Sometimes He closes the door you begged Him to open because He sees what lies beyond it. Sometimes He allows disappointment to become your deliverance, because what you thought was good was simply familiar. And God is too faithful to let you settle for less than His best. When your spirit is surrendered, you will trust that His no is protection, His silence is strategy, and His delay is preparation. True faith doesn't just accept the answer, it reveres the wisdom behind it. Let me speak plainly. The enemy fears a restored person because once you've been through the fire and come out refined, you are no longer easily shaken. Once you've wrestled in the dark with only God as your companion, your dependency on others vanishes. Once you've been stripped of false identities and grounded in divine purpose, you walk differently. You pray with a weight that comes from surviving what others didn't see. And your restoration becomes a weapon, not just for you, but for everyone your story will touch. There will be moments when your restoration journey feels lonely. Not everyone can walk with you into the new season. Not everyone will understand your transformation. Some will resist it. Others will mislead, but let them talk. Let them walk away. When God restores, He also reveals. He shows you who truly carries your destiny in their spirit and who was only assigned to the broken version of you. Don't chase the crowd. Don't explain yourself. Focus on staying in alignment with God's hand. His presence will bring the right voices into your life at the right time. Restoration is also generational. What God is doing in you now is not just for you, it's for your children, your children's children, and the legacy they will carry. Every prayer you pray today lays a brick for the road they will walk tomorrow. Every stronghold you break is a wall they won't have to climb. Every habit you surrender becomes a testimony of power they will inherit. So when you feel weak, remember you are fighting for a future that goes far beyond your own. And God honors those who stand in the gap for generations. God does not overlook faithfulness. He sees the unseen sacrifices, the quiet acts of obedience, the inner battles you never posted. And He is faithful to reward those who remain in pursuit of Him, even when the world offers faster routes and easier roads. Let others chase shortcuts. Your reward is not from man, it is from the hand of God. And when He chooses to release it, it will be undeniable, unstoppable, and undeniably sacred. There will come a day, mark it in your spirit, when you will rise, and everything that once looked like loss will be redefined as a setup. Every closed door will be seen as divine mercy. Every delay will be revealed as protection. Every tear will be accounted for. Every cry will echo in eternity. And you will say, not with bitterness, but with awe, God restored me better than I ever imagined. Not by strength, not by control, but through prayer, raw, honest, and burning with passion. So if you find yourself in the midst of breaking, keep on praying. If exhaustion weighs on you, stay on your knees. If doubts surround you, keep searching, for the answer you long for may be just beyond one more breath of surrender. The turning point may only be waiting on one more act of obedience, and the breakthrough could be nearer than you realize. God is not done with you yet, not even close. He is crafting something in your life that will outlast the storm, outshine the pain, and outlive every critic. And when it is finished, it won't bring you pride. It will bring glory to God, because your restoration is not merely a comeback. It is your calling. It is your divine assignment, and it begins now where every true transformation starts, in stillness, in surrender, in the hidden power of breakthrough prayer. My beloved, lean in and listen carefully. I do not stand before you with mere opinions. I am not offering the echo of man's wisdom, nor words drawn from the shallow streams of earthly knowledge. I come bearing a message that resounds from the heavens, a word drenched in the eternal promises of God. Hear this: God Himself will open the door to your finances. So do not be afraid. Do not let the enemy of your soul, the whisper of fear, or the heaviness of your present circumstances deceive you. What you see now is not the conclusion. What you feel is not your destiny. What surrounds you in this moment is only the preparation for what God is ready to release into your life. You may be facing empty cupboards, unpaid bills, mounting debts, and dreams gasping under the pressure of lack. Yet God has not forgotten you. God has not stepped away from your struggle. He is neither blind to your needs nor deaf to your cries. Though people may have walked away, though systems may have failed you, though opportunities may have slammed their doors, God's door stands open still. God's supply is not empty. God's timing is never late. Let me tell you, with fire in my bones and truth in my heart, God owns it all. Every coin in the earth, every piece of gold buried deep in the hills, every opportunity, every field, every business idea, every harvest that has yet to break through the soil, it all belongs to Him. And if He owns it, He can release it to you in a moment. What takes man decades to build, God can give you in a day. What takes the world a lifetime to accumulate, God can release through a single door He opens. One touch from God changes everything. Don't you dare bow your head in shame because of what you lack right now. Don't you measure your value by your bank account. Don't you think for a moment that your worth is defined by what you drive, where you live, or what you wear. God sees you. God knows the sacrifice. God knows the silent tears at night. God has witnessed the times you gave your last, the times you stretched what you had to help someone else. And God is not unjust to forget your faith, your trust, and your obedience. God is the one who will pay you back, not man. And when God pays back, He doesn't return what was lost. He multiplies it. The same God who made water spring from a rock, who brought food down from the sky, who multiplied a little and made it much, is the same God who is still moving. He is the one who feeds the birds of the air, birds that neither sow nor reap, yet never go hungry. If He provides for them, will He not provide for you? You who trust in Him, you who call on Him, you who walk by faith when everything in your life is shouting fear. Yes, God will provide for you. Not just barely, but abundantly, overflowingly, supernaturally. So, let your heart stop racing. Let your soul breathe again. God never runs out of options. God never faces a shortage. Heaven is never in a recession. When one door shuts, God is already preparing another. And not just any door, but the right door. The divine door. The door that brings peace and not sorrow. The door that brings favor and not toil. The door that no man, no devil, no system can shut. That's the kind of door God opens. You may not see the door right now, but that doesn't mean it's not there. Just because it's hidden doesn't mean it's not holy. Just because it's delayed doesn't mean it's denied. God is never late, but He's rarely early. He waits until the moment that brings Him the most glory and brings you the most growth. If you got it too early, pride would ruin it. If you got it too quickly, you wouldn't value it. If you stepped through the door before your character was ready, the blessing would crush you instead of lift you. So trust the process. Trust that God is not just preparing the door, He's preparing you for it. There's a reason the trial is financial. Because nothing tests your faith like finances. Nothing exposes your fears like money. And nothing reveals your true trust like being in lack. But God isn't trying to hurt you. He's trying to show you something. He's trying to teach you how to depend not on a paycheck, not on a job, not on the government, not on people, but on Him and Him alone. There is a spiritual law written by the hand of God. Those who sow in faith shall reap in abundance. But you must understand, faith is not a feeling. It's a decision. Faith is not hoping things work out. It's knowing God is working even when you see nothing at all. Faith is walking through a closed hallway knowing the door will open at the end. Faith is praising God in the drought because you trust that rain is on the way. That's the kind of faith God honors. That's the kind of faith God rewards. So don't be discouraged when it looks like nothing is happening. Don't grow bitter when others are getting blessed while you're still waiting. God's delay is not His denial. God's silence is not His absence. God's holding back is not punishment. It's positioning. He's setting the stage for a breakthrough that will silence every voice that doubted you. He's about to raise you up in such a way that people will not be able to say it was your talent, your connections, or your hustle. They'll have to admit this was God and God alone. And when that door opens, walk through it boldly and don't apologize for it. Don't shrink back. Don't question it. Receive what God gives you with humility and with confidence. For what He opens, no man can shut. What He blesses, no curse can reverse. What He ordains, no enemy can overthrow. But I must warn you, when the door opens, don't forget God. Don't let success silence your worship. Don't let increase inflate your ego. The same God who brought you out is the same God who must be honored when you go in. Do not trade your dependence on God for dependence on money. Money is a tool, money is a servant, but God is your source. God is your keeper. God is your sustainer. Too many lose their fire once they receive the blessing. They prayed while they lacked, but grew cold when the abundance came. Don't be like that. Stay humble. Stay hungry. Stay faithful. For God doesn't just want to bless you once. He wants to walk with you in perpetual favor. But favor flows where honor dwells. Honor God with what He gives you. Be generous. Be wise. Be diligent. And never forget where it came from. You may be wondering, but how will it happen? I don't have the credentials, I don't have the capital, I don't have the connections. Let me tell you something. God doesn't need what you lack to bless you. God uses what you have. A little faith, a little oil, a little courage. That's all He needs. He specializes in starting with little, because little in the hand of God becomes mighty. Don't compare your story to others. Their door is not your door. Their timeline is not your timeline. What God is doing for you is tailor-made. And when it comes, it will fit you so perfectly. You'll know it could have only come from above. You'll know it was divinely designed, spiritually crafted, and heaven sent. And don't underestimate what you've been through. Every hardship, every loss, every night you cried in silence, it all mattered. God is not wasteful. He collects every tear. He records every struggle, and He uses it to prepare you for what's coming. The pressure you felt is proof that something powerful is on the way. God presses before He pours. He prunes before He promotes. He breaks before He builds. And He hides before He reveals. So don't despise this season. It's only temporary. The storm will pass. The night will end. And when it does, God will open the door that no man saw coming. And it will make up for every closed door behind you. God will give you double for your trouble. God will repay what was stolen. God will redeem the time that was lost. And it will not be by your hand, but by His favor. And hear me now with a heart full of fire and a soul aligned with truth. Your current position is not your permanent condition. What you see today is not the fullness of what God has for you. Do not let your current lack convince you that God has forgotten you. That is a lie from the pit of despair. The very moment you began to cry out to God, the process began. Even when you felt alone, God was working. Even when the silence screamed louder than your prayers, God was moving in the unseen. God does not slumber. God does not sleep. God does not ignore. While you were pacing the floor at night, God was sending angels on assignment. While you were rationing your last meal, God was preparing a feast. While others were mocking your faith, God was laying the foundation for something they could never take credit for. You may feel behind, but God is about to accelerate your steps. You may feel overlooked, but God is about to spotlight your faithfulness. You may feel surrounded, but God is about to scatter every enemy that rose against your finances. Let your spirit rise with holy confidence, because God is not only aware of your need, He is orchestrating the solution with divine precision. There are ideas He's planting in your mind. There are connections He's weaving in the background. There are resources being released through channels you haven't even imagined yet. God does not need your resume, your bank history, or your popularity. He moves according to your faith. He responds to your dependence. He honors your trust. If you could see what God is arranging, you'd stop crying and start praising. If you could see the next season, you'd thank Him for the test. The wilderness was not a punishment. It was a place of preparation. The dry season wasn't a sign of abandonment. It was where God trained your eyes to look up, not around. He's been shifting your focus, not to what you don't have, but to who holds it all. Because when your eyes are fixed on God, no lack can shake you and no delay can break you. Some of you have been fasting. Some of you have been sowing. Some of you have been weeping in secret. But God is not unjust. God is the one who sees what is done in the hidden and rewards openly. You may have gone unnoticed by people, but you are front and center in the eyes of God. He has not misplaced your prayer. He has not overlooked your offering, and He has not ignored your trust. God is getting ready to open the kind of door that changes your family legacy, a door that shifts the direction of your bloodline, a door that breaks generational cycles of poverty, a door that lifts you out of survival mode and into a life of provision, peace, and purpose. But God had to get you to this point first, to this holy desperation, to this place where your only hope is Him. Because when you finally reach the place where God is all you have, you will discover that God is all you need. Don't allow the calendar to intimidate you. Don't let the deadlines cause panic. Don't let the whispers of defeat linger in your thoughts. God is not limited by time. He is not constrained by man-made systems. When He says, now no delay can stop it. And I believe that there are those listening who are on the edge of a supernatural shift. The door you've prayed for is closer than you think. But will you keep believing when the pressure increases? Will you keep praising even when the cupboards are bare? Will you trust God not just with your soul, but with your supply? Faith is not proven in the harvest. Faith is proven in the drought. It's in the silence where faith speaks the loudest. It's in the emptiness where faith sees the fullness of God. So do not curse the season you're in. It is birthing a deeper trust, a firmer foundation, and an unshakable spirit. God is molding you into someone who can steward the door once it opens. You don't want a door that crushes you. You want a door that elevates you. And God is making sure you're ready. So stop trying to manipulate the outcome. Stop forcing connections that God didn't approve. Stop running after crumbs when God has a banquet waiting. Walk with dignity. Live with integrity. Speak with confidence. Your source is not your job. Your provider is not your employer. Your trust is not in fluctuating markets. Your help comes from God, the maker of all things, the controller of every resource, the opener of every door. I declare to your spirit today, you are not forgotten. You are not forsaken. You are not invisible to the eyes of God. There is a divine appointment on your life, and when God says the time is now, the floodgates will open, and you will not be begging. You will be distributing. You will not be scraping by. You will be sowing into others. You will not just come out. You will come out with more than what you lost. God never brings you through lack without releasing abundance on the other side. And I say this with boldness. Your days of financial struggle are numbered. God is about to send the kind of provision that silences every doubt, every fear, and every critic. 6, the kind that makes you say, only God could have done this. the kind that removes shame, the kind that lifts burdens, the kind that allows you to bless others without calculating the cost. But remember this, God does not bless you just for you. He blesses you to be a blessing. He increases you so you can increase others. He elevates you so you can lift others. So prepare your heart not just to receive, but to pour out. Prepare not only to receive the door, but to walk through it with generosity, wisdom, and purpose. You will not be like those who forgot who lifted them. You will be a light, a vessel, a testimony, not of your greatness, but of God's faithfulness. And your story will cause others to believe. Your breakthrough will be the blueprint for someone else's hope. Your testimony will be fuel for someone else's faith. Because when God opens this door, it will be undeniable. Let me speak directly to the soul that feels exhausted, to the one who has prayed day and night, and yet the breakthrough feels like it's stuck behind an invisible wall. To the one who watches the calendar flip, the bills stack, the cupboards thin, and still wonders, where is the promise? I declare to you with unwavering conviction, God is not finished. Your waiting is not in vain. The silence is not a sign of abandonment. It is the stillness before the storm of blessings. It is the quiet before the gates of provision swing open in your favor. Do not let the weariness of your body deceive the strength of your spirit. God is measuring your endurance. He is watching how you handle the not yet, because how you respond to lack determines how well you will steward abundance. God is preparing your heart to handle what your hands are about to receive. If He gave it too soon, it would be a burden. But when it comes in God's perfect timing, it will not bring sorrow. It will bring peace, honor, and lasting joy. And hear this clearly. You were never meant to be a slave to money. You were created to walk in dominion, to live with dignity, and to move in purpose. Money is not your master. Fear is not your ruler. God alone is your provider. God alone is your source. And when you understand this, no temporary lack can make you panic, and no temporary success can make you arrogant, because you know that everything you have and everything you need flows from the eternal well of God's provision. Some of you are standing at the edge of a financial miracle, but your mind has been tormented by the fear of failure. Let me tell you with fire and truth, fear is a liar, but God is the truth. You do not need to have all the answers. You do not need to see the full map. All you need is faith in the one who holds the map, who controls the road, and who creates new paths where none existed. When God speaks, even the desert becomes a garden. Even the storm becomes a highway. Even the closed gate becomes an open passage. There is a power in your praise that pushes open doors no key can turn. There is a force in your faith that moves mountains no man can lift. And there is a miracle in your obedience that brings forth provision no economy can explain. God does not bless based on logic. He blesses based on obedience. And sometimes He will test you by asking you to give, even when it feels like you have nothing left. Not to take from you, but to show you that He is the one who fills your cup again and again. Let the doubters talk. Let the critics watch. Let those who don't understand your walk question your decisions. You are not living for their approval. You are walking by divine instruction. And the same people who mock your faith now will witness the overflow later. Not because of who you are, but because of who God is. He exalts the humble. He lifts the faithful. And He defends those who trust in Him. And He never lets those who rely on Him be put to shame. You may not have come from wealth. You may have known struggle your entire life, but let me declare something deep into your spirit. Where you come from does not determine where God is taking you. God can raise you from obscurity into influence. God can move you from scraping by to pouring into others. You are not limited by your history, your family, or your environment. You are defined by God's calling and sustained by God's provision. There is a shift coming. You may not feel it yet, but it's already begun. It starts in the spirit before it manifests in the natural. God is rearranging things. He is aligning connections. He is preparing the environment to receive your blessing. You don't have to knock down doors. God is unlocking them. You don't have to strive and chase. God is causing what's meant for you to find you. All you need to do is stay faithful, stay obedient, and keep your spirit ready. Because when that moment comes, it won't be small. It won't be partial. It won't be just enough. It will be pressed down, shaken together, and running over. It will come in a way that silences every doubt, erases every worry, and redefines your entire future. God's blessing is not just a deposit. It is a transformation. It does not just change your finances. It changes your mind, your heart, your habits, your outlook, your identity. So build your house on the rock of trust, not on the sand of temporary success. Because when God opens that financial door, you need to be ready to manage it with wisdom. Too many have received, but not many have maintained. God is preparing you not just for a blessing, but for stewardship, for multiplication, and for legacy. This door God is about to open is not just for you. It's for your children, your children's children, and for those you will impact. This is generational. This is sacred. And this is why the pressure has been so intense, because the promise is so great. The enemy wouldn't be attacking you so violently if you weren't carrying something valuable, but he cannot stop what God has ordained. He cannot close what God has commanded open. And he cannot curse what God has chosen to bless. Let your ears be open and your spirit alert, because what I say next is not ordinary speech. It is a call to rise in faith and awaken your understanding. God is not bound by economy, by status, or by the limits man has placed around you. God is beyond interest rates and inflation. God is above credit scores and job titles. And when He chooses to bless you, He does not consult your qualifications. He responds to your submission, your sincerity, your faith. So stop measuring your future by your current bank balance. Stop limiting your expectations to what you see in the natural. Lift your eyes higher. God is your portion, and His provision is not dependent on your position. It's time to walk in financial faith with the kind of trust that doesn't tremble at empty accounts. The kind of faith that doesn't flinch when bills pile up. You may not see the resources in your hand right now, but you carry the seed of promise in your spirit. And God never places a burden without preparing the breakthrough. That struggle in your finances, it's not just a test. It's a stretching. It's developing endurance in your soul. It's sharpening your discernment so you won't waste what's coming. Because when God opens the door, it won't be for temporary relief. It will be for lasting impact. Some of you have tried every human avenue. You've applied, you've called, you've knocked, and still the answer was no. But what if God let those doors remain closed because they were not the ones meant for you? Not every opportunity is a blessing. Not every open door is divine. Some things look good but carry hidden traps. God in His mercy has kept you from lesser things so He can bring you into greater things. And when He opens the right door, you won't have to force it. You won't have to beg for it. You won't have to compromise your integrity to walk through it. It will open by the power of His will, and you will know this was God. There is a realm of financial breakthrough that is accessed not through manipulation or schemes, but through spiritual alignment. You must learn to speak the language of faith. God responds to those who speak His word back to Him, not with doubt, not with complaining, not with bitterness, but with confidence in His power. Begin declaring over your situation, God is my provider. God is my sustainer. God is my opener of doors, and nothing that belongs to me will be withheld. Speak life into your finances. Speak hope into your future. Let your voice agree with what God has already ordained. And be careful. Do not allow comparison to steal your contentment. You see others prospering. You see them living in abundance while you stretch every penny. But hear this: comparison is the thief of peace. Jealousy will poison the field before the harvest ever comes. What God has set aside for you belongs to you alone. It will never be handed to another. Envy has no power to delay it. Learn to celebrate the victories of others, for in doing so you welcome the same favor to rest upon your own life. Rejoice when your brother is lifted high. Give praise when your sister shares her testimony, because your moment is on its way. And when it arrives, it will prove worth every second you endured. But don't spend the waiting in idleness. Prepare yourself. Take your position. Keep planting seeds. God blesses what is active and alive. Be faithful with the little that's in your hands. Whether it's a job that just manages to pay the bills or a business still finding its footing, serve with excellence. Guard it with diligence. For how you treat the small things will shape how you carry the greater ones. God observes your faithfulness in the quiet places before entrusting you with the stage. The world shouts a dangerous lie that wealth must be pursued at any cost. But this is not the path of those who walk with Him. You don't run after money. You draw provision by running after God. When you prioritize righteousness, when you live with integrity, when you give generously, when you serve faithfully, blessings will find you. You won't have to run from pillar to post trying to survive. You will walk in divine rhythm, and what is meant for you will meet you at the appointed time. And don't miss this. Sometimes God will allow lack not to punish but to protect. There are seasons when He withholds to preserve you. If He had given you the wealth before your character was ready, it would have ruined you. If He had opened the door before your humility was rooted, pride would have crept in and corrupted the blessing. But now, after the refining, after the tears, after the long nights, you are becoming someone who can be trusted with much. God does not waste pain. He transforms it into preparation. And what He's preparing you for is greater than you can imagine. Be mindful of how you handle delay. Delay is not rejection. It is construction. In the delay, God is building something inside of you. Perseverance, discipline, a deeper reliance on His voice. You are being built to last. So don't despise the process. Embrace it. Walk through it. Learn from it. Because when the door opens, the blessing will require maturity to manage. Now listen, God does not just want to bless you, He wants to free you. True financial freedom is not about luxury. It's about not being controlled by fear or bound by debt. It's about having peace, not panic. It's about giving without guilt and living without constant worry. That is what God desires for you. And that freedom comes when you let go of anxiety and hold on to trust. It comes when you recognize that wealth is not the goal. Obedience is. and through obedience, provision flows. There is a sound in the heavens, a sound that is stirring, moving, shifting. It is the sound of God preparing a release. Not a trickle, not a drop, but a divine release, so profound, so precise that it will redeem years of struggle in a single moment. And you must be ready, because God is not simply giving you money, though He is establishing something eternal in your life, a shift in your understanding, a reset in your priorities, a cleansing of your motives. He is not just opening the door to finances. He is opening your eyes to purpose. Understand this clearly. Not all increase is from God. There is increase that comes with chaos, anxiety, and bondage. But when God blesses you, it comes with calm, with clarity, with conviction. It comes with protection. It comes with order. It does not destroy your peace. It multiplies your strength. If the pursuit of money is stealing your worship, if it's robbing your rest, then it is not aligned with God's way. But if your pursuit is rooted in obedience, in trust, in surrender to God's timing and will, then what is coming will not only sustain you, it will elevate you into greater service, deeper impact, and true freedom. There are seasons where God withholds to realign, where He interrupts your pattern to correct your direction. If you've ever experienced a door slamming shut just when you were about to step through, don't be discouraged. That was God's mercy, not punishment. He closed it because He knew what was on the other side wasn't yours. He closed it because He had something better. Better doesn't always mean bigger. It means blessed, and blessed is what you want, not just more. Because more without God leads to emptiness, but a little with God becomes abundance. You must begin to see your financial life as a field, not a vault. It is not meant to be hoarded. It is meant to be cultivated, sown into, cared for, watered by faith, harvested with wisdom. If you treat your finances as a field entrusted by God, then you will not be afraid to plant even when conditions look unfavorable. Because you know the rain does not come from the sky alone. It is commanded by God. The soil does not yield fruit by accident. It responds to obedience. The harvest is not determined by effort alone. It is released through divine timing. And I speak now to the spirit that has grown weary in the wait. You have done all you know to do. You've tithed, you've saved, you've sacrificed. And yet, the breakthrough has not come. Let me speak a deeper word to your heart. Sometimes the delay is not about your faith, it's about your future. God is not testing your belief. He is building your capacity. He's not punishing your obedience. He's preparing this stage for something more meaningful than wealth, influence, transformation, stability. Because what God desires for you is not just a moment of blessing. It's a lifestyle of alignment. Do not seek to be rich. Seek to be right with God. Seek to walk in such a way that your heart is never moved by the numbers in your account, but only by the whisper of God's instruction. Let your spirit become so anchored in truth that no offer, no deal, no opportunity can ever pull you away from God's voice. Because the real wealth is not in what you possess. It's in who you've become through the process. There are some doors that look like breakthroughs but are actually bait. You must be discerning. Not every opportunity is appointed by God. The enemy knows how to mimic what looks like success. That's why your prayer must not only be God open the door, but also God close the ones that are not from you. Block the counterfeits. Seal shut every path that leads to regret. Because when God is the one who opens, the door leads to life. And when He is the one who guides, you can walk boldly without fear. Let me tell you something that may shake you. You don't need more money to be faithful. You don't need more to be generous. You don't need abundance to be grateful, because gratitude is not birthed in having everything. It is birthed in recognizing that everything you do have is a gift from God. And when you live like that, when you live with open hands and a thankful heart, you begin to attract the kind of favor that no financial system can explain. God blesses those who live in gratitude and give with joy. God doesn't need numbers to multiply. He only needs willingness. If He can feed the birds who don't work and dress the flowers that don't sue, will He not take care of you, the one who cries out to Him in secret? Yes, He will. He already is. Provision doesn't begin when the bank fills. It begins the moment you trust, the moment you rest, the moment you let go of trying to be your own source and allow God to be God. And when He moves, when He opens the right door, everything will change in an instant. What was closed for years will be unlocked in a moment. What was unreachable will be delivered. What you were chasing will begin to chase you. But it won't come so that you can boast. It won't come to inflate your ego. It will come to remind you that God never forgets. God never sleeps. God never ignores faith. Let this season become the altar where you lay down your worry and pick up worship, where you stop explaining your faith to those who mock and begin living in quiet confidence that what God promised He will fulfill. You may not know how, but you know who, and the who is always greater than the how. God is greater than the system, greater than your circumstances, greater than your fears, and greater than any door that was once closed. So now is the time to build before the breakthrough. Prepare like the answer is already on the way. Organize your life, plan your steps, write the vision, clear the clutter, make room, not just in your home, but in your heart. Because God does not send rain where there are no seeds in the ground. God does not open doors where there is no faith to walk through them. And God does not release wealth into hands that are clenched in fear. He blesses those whose hands are open to give, to receive, and to worship. Let the world chase after fleeting riches. Let them hustle in panic and store up in fear. But you stand firm in your trust. Your stability is not in the bank. It is in God. Your legacy is not built on gold. It is built on faith. Your door is not carved by human hands. It is opened by divine command. And when it swings open, because it will, you will walk through it not with pride, but with praise, not with arrogance, but with awe, because you will know beyond every shadow of doubt. It was not your effort that did it. It was not your talent. It was not your intellect. It was God. God alone, the one who sees, the one who knows, the one who opens the door. So you don't have to worry. And now let me tell you something the world won't say to you, something that goes against the logic of man, but stands tall in the wisdom of God. True provision does not come from hustle. It comes from alignment. You can grind every day and still feel empty. You can have all the coins in your pocket and yet be spiritually bankrupt. But when you are aligned with God, when your steps are ordered, when your motives are purified, you begin to experience a kind of success that no paycheck can ever provide. That is the success of the soul. That is the wealth that does not wither. That is the blessing that overflows from the unseen into the visible. People will ask, how did it happen? How did you get from not enough to more than enough? And you will not be able to explain it by charts or formulas. You'll simply say, "It was God." Because when God does it, the fingerprints are too divine to be explained away by coincidence. It will not be strategy that delivered you. It will be surrender. Not your schemes, but your submission. Not your plans, but your patience. Because when God opens the door to your finances, it won't be ordinary. It will carry the unmistakable mark of heaven. You must understand, God doesn't open doors just to fill your account. He opens them to fulfill His purpose. When He lifts you, it's not just for your comfort. It's for His glory. So you must ask yourself today, am I ready to carry the weight of blessing with the strength of integrity? Because blessing without character is a curse in disguise. God is not raising up people who are just rich. He is raising up people who are righteous, people who won't bow to the idols of greed, people who won't trade their calling for cash, people who won't sell their soul for worldly applause. So don't rush the process. Let God finish what He started in you. Let Him finish humbling you, refining you, teaching you. Let Him finish breaking off the false dependencies so that when the blessing comes, you'll know where it came from. You'll know it wasn't the bank, the boss, or the market. It was the breath of God blowing open what no man could touch. And hear me now with clarity and conviction. There is no force strong enough to stop what God has willed for your life. Not poverty, not delay, not rejection, not betrayal. When God speaks a word over your destiny, it cannot return void. It travels like lightning, unstoppable and unshakable. And what He has promised, He will deliver. Not because of who you are, but because of who He is. God is faithful. God is just. God is generous beyond measure. And if He said He will open the door, then even if the hinges have rusted and the lock has been sealed for years, that door will move. But now, let's go deeper. What if the financial door you're waiting on isn't meant to just bless your life, but to break a chain in your lineage? What if the provision that's coming isn't just for your comfort, but to cancel curses that have tormented your bloodline for generations? What if God is getting ready to shift everything through you? Don't think small. Don't limit God to a payday. He's not just your provider. He's your liberator. He's setting you up to become the first, the foundation, the one who changed the story for your entire household. That's why it's taken time. That's why the pressure has been intense. You thought you were just praying for a breakthrough, but God was crafting a testimony. You thought you were just asking for help, but God was building a legacy. You thought you were crying alone, but God was collecting every tear and watering the soil of your destiny with them. And now the harvest is close. The wind is shifting. The door is creaking open. But when it opens, walk through it with reverence. Walk through it with awareness that this is not just a financial moment. It's a divine assignment. It's a new season where you become a steward of blessings, a distributor of hope, a vessel of generosity. Don't cling to it. Flow with it. Don't worship it. Use it to worship. Because money is a tool, not a treasure. God is the treasure. And when you keep Him at the center, every blessing will flow in its rightful order. Now let this truth echo through your bones. You are not destined for lack. You are not sentenced to struggle. You are not forgotten in the corner of scarcity. You are marked by God. And when God marks you, no thief can steal what belongs to you. No enemy can delay what's been appointed. No door can stay closed that He has commanded open. So rise not with anxiety, but with assurance. Rise not with fear, but with fire, because God is about to honor your faith with fulfillment. You are walking into a season where what was empty will overflow. What was stagnant will accelerate. What was barren will bear fruit, and it won't be by accident. It will be the manifestation of every hidden prayer, every quiet seed, every unnoticed act of obedience. Because God does not forget. God does not overlook. God does not mock the faith of those who put their full weight on His word. So prepare yourself. Clean the house of your mind. Sweep out doubt. Open the windows of expectation. Set the table of faith, because God is coming to dine with you in the form of breakthrough. The knock you've been waiting for is about to come. And when you answer, you will find not a visitor, but victory. Not just relief, but restoration. Not just provision, but peace. The kind of peace that settles deep and silences every fear. Stand tall. Walk forward. Stay faithful. Because the door to your finances will open, not by your striving, but by God's timing. And when it does, you will not be overwhelmed. You will be overjoyed. Not surprised, but deeply aware that this is what you were born for. You were not created to worry. You were created to witness. And you will witness the power of God make a way where there was none. This is the promise. This is the future awaiting you. So release the worry. God Himself will make the way. Rest your heart in complete confidence. Let every anxious thought crumble, every fear be stilled, every doubt fade away. For the very God who stretched out the heavens and formed the earth is the same God watching over your life. The same God who draws streams in barren lands, who shines light into the shadows, who raises the lowly from the ground. That same God is unlocking provision over your finances, not only to supply what you lack, but to reveal His glory in you, not only to lift you, but to make you a beacon for others. You have not been abandoned. You have not been overlooked. You are being shaped for something greater than your mind can hold. And when the door swings wide, as it surely will, you will step forward with strength, with gratitude, with faith that cannot be shaken. You will enter not as one begging, but as one believing, not weighed down by shame, but filled with purpose. Not in fear, but in praise, because it was always God. God who preserved you, God who carried you, God who now pours out blessing over you. So lift your gaze, strengthen your heart, keep standing firm, keep sowing seeds, keep trusting fully. The way is opening before you, and when it happens, you will know without question. It was God, God alone,